Welcome back to the Tiger Hanger. This is Mike, and I'm coming at you with another video of Transformers Masterpiece versus G1. This time, talking about third-party mini-bots, and we'll talk about a few things. First of all, I'm going to talk about why I didn't get into the mini-bot collecting. I kind of avoided it for a while. Then I'm also going to talk about each one of these individual, each character, the different options that are out there, my recommendations, and then I'm going to talk about. I got a lot of collector friends that collect Masterpiece Transformers that don't collect G1. And I think that's odd. I'd like to get some comments down there. What you think? And then future releases. Now, which ones of these are going to get made? Like, what company's coming out with the next one? And I'm going to kind of touch on those as we go. But there are some very specifics that excite me coming out, and some things I'm holding out for. Well, if you're anything like me, you remember these ads from the '80s that came with your toys, and you had all these. Well, this is the mini-bots here, so I kind of use this as a reference, as a somewhat of a checklist. And I can't find my Warpath, G1 Warpath, so I might have to just pick another one up. I'm going to keep looking for it, though. But this kind of represents the G1, Season 1 of these wonderful mini-bots. Okay, so first thing I want to talk about is why I specifically tried not to collect these. And this is really why. I opened up Bumblebee and said, wow, look how small he is. Very underwhelmed, very disappointed. Carbots tower over him, kick his butt. I figured he'd be a little taller, closer to Carbot size. I think Carbots are undersized. I don't care whether or not they fit into Optimus Prime's trailer or not. It doesn't matter to me. You can only fit one in there anyway. They should just make sure it fits on the MP22 Ultra Magnus's trailer. Get 4 of them bad boys on there. So I think this is closer to what I would like Bumblebee to be. And a lot of people say this KO oversized one's too big, but I think it's exactly where I want to go. Need a face swap, of course. That's not the right face. But anyway, the size is my first problem with this. The second problem I had was the price. So like these guys were $60 when they came out. And yeah, that's to me when at the time that they started coming out with Carbots, they were selling MPO1 Optimus Prime in Walmarts for $63 and had a lot more features and all die-cast. And that to say that you're going to get this little piece of plastic here that weighs 5 ounces or so to 7 ounces, I don't know, but for the same price, that doesn't make sense to me, and I'm not on board with that. So that was the other reason. So you got the size, you got that, but in the end, you've got one more thing that I really was going to just say, hey, Legends is upping their game. Hasbro Legends size. They look good. And so with that, I was just thinking, I'll just make these my mini bots in my display. And it'll make me perfectly happy. But I'll show you why that's not true. Bumblebee is probably the character that's seen the most love in the Transformers line. Let me get rid of this carbide here. So with that, I just want to point out like all the different stuff that you can get with Bumblebee. Now I've been displaying this G2 one, and I think it's a knockoff because frankly I don't care if I get a knockoff or not as long as it looks good on the shelf. But I'm not like if I got super cheap and it turned out to be a knockoff, I'm not going to get upset that hey I got that for $40 and I thought it was authentic or whatever. But this guy here, I opened it up recently and I see the difference between an official and a KO. And yes, official's better most of the time, unless you're size junkie like me. So this one here is an Impossible Toys version, kind of a mix between G1 and a mix between Masterpiece. But I would never pass that off as a Masterpiece. It's too toyish. Shares all of the G1 aesthetics with a little more articulation. Here is the take that Hasbro had on it. And so this is where we're starting with official. Starting with official product, official look, going into some third-party stuff here. Okay, so next up is Sprite. Now, I ended up with both the Toy World Wave Break and the Fans Toys Spindrift. And I kind of torn because I actually like the way Fans Toys looks better. But Toy World actually is closer to the aesthetic. It's closer to the G1 character model than Fans Toys. Fans Toys is much smaller. You know my affinity for larger vehicles or figures. Oh, stand up. G1 falls down too easy. But in the end, I'm kind of torn which one I'll display. If I was just going to display one, I'm probably going to display one at either end of my display and just have them both in there. For now, here is an excellent job. Excellent job Titan Returns did. And then you get this little stomach bump out. He has a little plug-in pack. This is my kids. I don't know what they did with it. I said, hey, I need your Legends figures, these figures for a video. They brought them down. So anyway, this is X-transbots coming out with one that is probably going to blow them all out of the water. It's going to be more accurate to the screen, still going to look amazing like the fans' toys. The feet are going to be a lot better proportion than either one of them, and that's all I need. So these are both cheap because everyone knows X-transbots coming out is going to trump them. That's like $45-50. This guy's an even 40 shipped. You can get them real cheap right now. Both of these are going to skyrocket in price once the excess off the market is gone and they're not on with online retailers anymore. So I'm not a big fan of Cosmos. To tell you the truth, if it wasn't for the fact that people raved so much about this Klaatu, I probably would have just found the cheapest option out there, which he wasn't that expensive. I think he was like $58, but for what you get out of him, for $55 to $60 range right now, because he's still online retailers have them. The reputable Chinese sellers don't go with the questionable Chinese seller, and I don't know if I should make a video about the overseas sellers that are doing all the scams. That I've got 3 cases against them right now. Of course, you got your buyer protection, but I've got to wait a month to get one of them back, so it doesn't make sense. Anyway, with that, this guy is good, solid build, the X-transbot Klaatu. But I don't really care about the character so much. He wasn't really very prominent in the series. And I just don't think you can do much with this to make it look good. He still looks too bulky in my opinion. But he's the best option that's out there right now. And of course I do like X-transbot, so maybe I overlook a few things with X-transbot that I probably don't with the others because I have so much X-transbot stuff. So next this is Richthofen. Not Richthofen. That's the one I want. Richthofen's the one I'm waiting for. This is actually X-transbot's glider. Been out of production for a few years. And I got this one loose, no box. I really like boxes. I like keeping all my boxes. I like displaying boxes sometimes. And this kind of bothered me that this is one of, I think, 3 that I was trying to track these down that I couldn't get a box on. So anyway, I'll probably get the box one and get a blue version for... I saw a blue version for 30 or something like that. I was going to go after that one. But this is pretty good in both modes. And transformation is not too hard, so it's not that bad. But... this is $50, and this guy right next to him was $4. Now you still have to pay like $35 nowadays, but this is the KO oversize of what I thought they did a great job on. Was like the Generations Combiner Wars version. Let me take some fiddling to get them to stand to look just right, but the coloring's a little bit off. I like the color better on this one, obviously, and then before that they gave us these 2. And I really thought that this was the first time I saw a well-engineered version of Powerglide. But then it's like, that's not Powerglide. That doesn't fit the bill. That doesn't, the wings pieces aren't right. But anyhow, DX9's Richthofen's coming out, or getting re-released soon. Probably in about a month. And I've got that on pre-order, and I'll have that one, and I'll probably do a video about that when I get it. But I really just wanted to kind of do a video on all these right now because I'm done waiting for anything else to come in. And I think that the glider fits the bill. I've seen a couple videos about them, and it was what you could get at the time. And then people are also talking about X-transbots ripped this mold off, but I actually can't find any other company selling one that looks exactly like it and has the same transformation. So I don't believe that. So if you ever watch my videos, you'll see that this shines through. I really like size comparisons and getting proportions right and those kinds of things. And when I watch anyone else's video, that's my favorite part. A lot of times I even just skip to it. I like the size comparisons because I really utilize those as resources, and I hope people can utilize this as a resource for when you're considering buying a figure, whether or not you go with one or not, because it really makes a big difference. And to spend $50 or $60, in some cases over $100 now on these mini bots, and then it just not fit right with your collection. It's kind of sad. So that's why I think size comparisons are extremely important. So moving into this here, so we've got this is the masterpiece version, and this is another x-transbot. This x-transbots boost. They also made a white version hatch. The only problem with mine is this heel spur it's got a lot of play. Now I could fix that, no problem, but I really don't want to fix stuff like right out of the box when I get it. But of course I got it used. It was the only one on eBay at the time, and I spent a little bit too much on it, like $88 or something. 88 miles an hour right there. It's moving fast. So this is what they gave us for a wind charger first from Hasbro. Now I was like, it's okay, but see, this is the era where I said, Hasbro, yeah, I've been painting. Hasbro is not giving us what we want. I felt like that for a long time until Combiner Wars. When I felt like Hasbro started giving us something closer to what we'd want, but the hollowness and all that. But yeah, this is pre-Combiner Wars. This is Power of the Primes. Now, Power of the Primes is pretty good, but I like the size of that. I like the aesthetic of that. This one fits the bill look-wise. Torso suffers from long torso syndrome because you got to fit a Titan Master in there. And, of course, this is my kids, and there's G1. But this is where you start really seeing, like, hey, we're turning the corner. Some of the stuff in Combiner Wars, almost everything that they made for Legend size in the Titan Returns. And definitely they're carrying it forward with the Power of the Primes. But I'm kind of fearing that this Power of the Primes might be the end of this gravy train that we're riding with Hasbro's Legends. Okay, so here's x-transbots. X-transbots is Ollie. Is the best looking wheelie out there. And, he's got QC issues. He's got floppy hips, but he looks good. I think he looks great. I like the way this guy looks. I like, I can pose him on a shelf. I'm okay with the fact that he's got the QC. This is the first version, so obviously if I was getting the second version, people go after that a little bit more because there's some improvements, a little bit better plastic and all that. But I think he looks great, and I'm okay with it. I just wasn't wanting to spend $70, $80, $90 on this thing, and I got mine for $50, and I'm happy with that. This is a good-looking Combiner Wars version of Wheelie, and it's a really Wheelie because he's named Wheelie. Face sculpt's great. This comes with already got a little sticker on. Remember, that's paint. And then, of course, my G1's missing this cap, but this Wheelie from Combiner Wars is what got me really thinking I don't need third party. And I think Wheelie is the part. It's like, I think this Wheelie looks every bit as good as Ollie. But I was lying to myself because I wanted to be cheap. And now I'm paying the price because some of these you cannot get at MSRP or what the price they were going. And when they have the release, you have other facets where you can get them cheaper than like the online retailers. There are certain sellers out there that are reputable that sell them even cheaper. So, yeah, I do really like the Ollie, and I really don't see anybody making one better than x-transbots. Okay, this is iGear's Dune Riker. This is the official one. This is the custom repaint that I did, and this is the it's the Power of the Primes beachcomber. And, of course, G1. I'm not going to spend much time on this. I've got another video, so I'll move it along. But the one I want for this is x-transbots, wins again, with the Arcos. Okay, so this is our bronze selection here that we have going on. This is Bad Cube's Brawn, Bad Cube's, Brawny. I can't remember, I think Hinch or something like that. I don't know what they call him. No, that's not Hinch. That's Hinch for the iGear Hinch. Forgot what they call this guy. And then there's G1, and of course, a beautiful Titan's Return version, and I think they did a great job with this guy, especially for a $10 price point. And so, obviously, Bad Cube's the best. iGear's, number 2 company. iGear and x-transbots kind of fight back or Bad Cube and x-transbots fight back and forth on who's the best. And then iGear, well, you can fill out your shelf with some iGear stuff for like $20 a piece. But then, of course, you're looking at this guy being like a $100 figure when he came out, and commanding 120 now, maybe 150, who knows? But this is definitely $35. If you can live with that, you can be cheap and live with that. For almost 100, you're getting the best option out there. Okay, now we're getting into some Bad Cube stuff here. We had the Bad Cube Brawny before, which was Brawn. This is Bad Cube's Grump, who is the Gears version. They also have another version of Bad Cube's Grump that has the other recolor. They recolored him, changed his name. Anyway, this is that iGear version. So this is pretty much the same mold as the iGear's Gears, but iGear's Grump. This is the iGear. What do they call this guy? Veer. This guy's Veer, and this one is just way too bulky. As you can see, iGear did like have something that could have a presence on your shelf, but the difference in engineering to go from this kind of thing that they had going on to this, you just don't even see wheels or anything. Bad Cube did an amazing job. But see, this thing here is like 5 years old, and I thought this was a good Gears at the time, if I can transform it right. But I thought this was this is the beginnings. I was like, hey, Hasbro's starting to give us what we want. It's really nice. But it still missed the mark. It missed the mark for a lot of reasons, especially the head part. And, you know, you look at the size difference. So, yes, Bad Cube's kind of one of the winning me over on the minibots. So I have to admit that I don't think that Hasbro has given us a warpath that fits in the legend size scale. And this warpath, which I really was hoping they'd KO oversize it, which they don't seem to KO oversize the deluxe figures of this era very much. And I was kind of hoping that they would go that KO oversize route with this guy. And, you know, he would almost fit. Like if you put a Bad Cube next to him, I guess you could just take your deluxe and stick him on your shelf and say, my deluxe is my masterpiece. But the thought process, of course, is that this guy here, this Bad Cube one, is much bigger because he's a tank. You know, how's a tank a minibot? Which is kind of a G1 screw up in a way, but size. I'm into size. Bigger, better. Bad Cube got me because this is the biggest. I think he's kind of chunky and kibbly. And I don't like that. I don't like the heft. He was not impossible to transform, but it took me like 10 minutes to do it on my own. I got stuck on one spot and I had to figure it out. And now it all makes sense. It's sort of intuitive, and it's not that hard of a transformation. So next I want to talk about Huffer here. So this one here is actually the first minibot, third-party masterpiece size minibot I bought that wasn't the official Bumblebee that I've had forever. And I thought it was pretty cool. It was bigger than I thought he would be, but if you see, he's got paint chipping, and this is not even Bad Cube. This is Cubex, which is Bad Cube's early days. And Cubex had a lot of problems, and I think that they changed their name to Bad Cube so that they could, I don't know, get out from underneath the stigma they had with this figure. And he's top heavy. He can hold a pose when you get him there. I think that x-transbots did a better job with theirs, but x-transbots got some kibble on there. And Bad Cube's 2.0 version looks more, they changed it up a bit, and it looks more cartoon accurate, has a collapsible top and all this. So the other version is better than this, but the Cubex one, I think, has some charm to it because it was the first, and I'm just going to stick with it. And I'm not sure which one I want to display because I like both of them for different reasons, but neither one of them are perfect. And frankly, I think they can come out with another one. But this also brings another problem with Hasbro, and like this is one of the hang-ups. Why are they giving us an Optimus Prime repaint and calling it Huffer? They are nowhere near the same character. They don't look anything alike. Yeah, this is Pipes, because the Huffer costs a lot. They'll end up re-releasing it. Hopefully they make one that looks like the G1 character and toy, though. So, in conclusion, I try to wrap these videos up, not make them go quite as long as this one. But if you see here, we've got a representation of all these characters in a masterpiece size. You have a representation of all these characters in the Combiner Wars. Combiner Wars, or Legend size, whatever, Legend size. There is one of those, you can fill your shelf with that. Or you've got the G1 looks. So I think that Hasbro's done a pretty good job giving you options. I think that the third parties are giving us greater options. And the rumor has it that in the future they're going to be coming out with Takara is going to do all of the minibots themselves. Don't know if that's really going to happen. I've never heard anything official. That's just a rumor. Also, would like to hear what you think about the collectors that collect Masterpiece and third party but don't collect any G1. Do you know people like that? If so, why? I mean, it's like if it's nostalgia is why you're collecting it, why not own a couple of those? The minibots themselves are the cheapest ones to get out there. And then future releases. So what's coming out, obviously the x-transbot version of Sea Spray is coming out. They're re-releasing the DX9. Right now you can still get your hands on Cosmos. You can get your hands on either one of these Sea Sprays. Nothing coming out for this guy that I know of. Nothing else coming out for Wheelie. Bad Cube needs to get on top of re-releasing some of their stuff because the secondary market is just going crazy. And nothing I know about Huffer, and I haven't heard anything about Warpath or Gears. But there is actually, wait, hold on a second. Gears is getting re-released for like $60. So there's some avenues, some options if you want to buy these things. I think TF Source even has Gears on there as a re-release, or BBTS, one of them. And so just start looking around because if you don't have a Gears, you can get them for $60. Don't get gouged. Titanium Hanger. Out.